Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 368 for October 29th, 2024. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, the CFL commissioner is stepping down after the Grey Cup game. There was a wild ending in the Commanders-Bears game, and the Camilla Bowl gets a new name and sponsor. But I'm not here all by myself. Across the table for me, as always, is my son, Adam.
Welcome back, and now order is restored. I plan on...
You were right the first time, I think.
I plan on keeping chaos. How was your trip? Tell us about it.
It was a good trip. Everywhere I went, I every day I was wearing a different Lions shirt and my same Lions hat, and
That's your whole wardrobe.
Yeah, and every day I would get at least one "Go Lions" or "Hey, great game against Minneapolis" or Minnesota.
Right.
It's something. Everybody was saying something all the time, no matter where I went. And it was great. Unlike a few years ago when I was walking through the Star Wars world and a guy goes, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" And it was a very hot day, and I thought maybe he thought that I was getting overheated or something. And he was talking about my Lions hat and Lions shirt that I was wearing at that time.
Oh.
All right, because I was a Lions fan.
How our fortunes have changed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, when I went to Disney in October, was that 2 years ago? It was right after the Lions-Seahawks game where it was like a 44-41. It was a high-scoring game, and we lost. And I saw a Seahawks fan at Disney, and I said, "Hey, good game."
Well, I was at this place. It was a Coca-Cola store at Disney Springs, and I was getting something to drink there. And one of the kids that worked there was cleaning off some of the tables because they have like a eating area. And he's wearing a Minnesota Vikings T-shirt. And he didn't say a word to me, but he stared at me as I walked by him, and I didn't say a word to him.
So that's when you have to look at him and you do the skull chant and you clap over. "Hey, kid, how about that skull?"
I should have done. I should just knock something on the floor and go pick that up.
Ooh. There you go, second place.
I didn't say anything, but it was an awkward exchange where our eyes met. And
right. Well, no, let's talk about. So you obviously you send in videos of you watching the Blues Brothers,
right? Yeah, that was cool. I love that.
So you did Universal. So I assume you did Harry Potter stuff.
We walked through the Harry Potter area. We rode the train from one park to the other.
Nice,
Hogwarts train, and Abram. He was soaking it all in, but we didn't do a whole lot. And we went through the other side of the park, through the Hogsmeade area, and went out through there and through all the rest of the park. And
I mean, I guess we should talk. Was there anything Quidditch related? We are a football show, so we might as well talk sports. Was there any Quidditch related stuff?
No.
Okay.
No. We got to Diagon Alley just as the dragon was spitting fire because everybody was standing around looking up at it, and so everybody was just frozen. So I figured, well, it's going to be any minute. So we waited a few minutes, and then finally it went off, and then everybody dispersed, and we could get through.
And then you went to Disney and Epcot. You got yourself a Canada hat.
Yep.
You ran into my sister down there.
Yes.
Kyle's wife surprised you.
Yep. Well, we surprised her because she thought we were at Epcot, and we had already left Epcot to go back to the hotel room. We were kind of making it an early day, but I went back to the Magic Kingdom, and we walked around there for a while. Then the next day, she and I met up at Disney Springs, and we went on a really cool car ride, a car that turns into a boat. They drive these cars into the water, and they take you around the lake. And
that sounds pretty
it's like some German-built car from the 60s, and it was just so cool. And I took some video of us driving up the ramp, and they had like a bat cave thing at the end where you pull up onto this disc and it slowly turns the car back around so that the next group can drive right out. It was pretty neat, and we got some pictures of that, and had a really good time. So it was nice to get away. I hope you appreciated some of the stuff that I left you. I did a lot of work before we left, but I left you a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell you where to find some things, but I showed you most of the things, like where do you get the FBS scores, the FCS scores.
I figured all that out. That was the easy part.
Yeah.
The hard part for running a show without you around, I'll give you this, was probably just the time. Because I'm sitting there, I'm working on the script in the car at the pickup lane at the school.
You showed me a picture of that. You had your laptop in the car and you're working on the script.
I was working on the script on my lunch break and my other break at work. Doing the CFL video, obviously I only had to watch one set of highlights, so you saved me there with the CFL stuff.
Yeah, I did 2 out of the 3 before I left.
Which good stuff, but I thought I added some really good language to that third one.
Sure, okay.
But it all worked out. I'm just glad, that finally you can take back some of the workload that you.
It is very time consuming. I don't think
for a retired person, you should have that time.
Well, I do, but still.
I just remember sitting there working on all this, going, you know what? If I was retired, this would be easy. And I don't want to hear you ever complain about that because I got it all done on a 9 to 5, and everything in between that happened to me.
Well,
working on a shed last week, I had to do a lot.
It's a good thing we started this podcast about a month before I retired, so I only had to mess with a job and the podcast for about a month before I retired, and after that, it's. Years ago when I retired back in 2017, I told a lot of people, I'm just going to be working for my wife now. But you know what? I'm working for you now because you are the taskmaster that's got us doing 3 or 4 videos every week and update the script and what can we do next? What's the next project we're going to work on? So when we
go to court over this entity that is the world of football, we have the audio right there of you saying, I run the show. So thank you so much.
For a week you did.
For a week. All right. Well, I know it's been a while since you've hit the microphone, but how about you get back into reading the script and we can move this show along?
Oh, finally. We're not done yet? Okay.
I mean, unless there's more you want to talk about, I'll listen.
No, that's fine. I'm sure other things will come up as we go along. We come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. We also have timestamps down in the description of the podcast and many of our YouTube videos, so you can go right to the topics you really want to listen to. You can find our podcast in its full audio form on our YouTube channel. Just search for The World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle @The World of Football in the YouTube search bar. You will find over 450 videos on our YouTube channel. I can't believe we
don't think it's that high.
It is. It's like 458. I double-checked today.
Okay.
Over 450 videos on our YouTube channel, like the CFL Week 20 recap that we did last week.
Well, I did last week.
Yes,
sorry.
That's right. You did. That I wrote most of.
Essentially videos that I helped run. There you go.
And let's see, there was Just Lying Around, the Lions-Titans recap that you and Kyle did right after the game last week.
Did.
And by the way, let me say, I think Kyle did a nice job filling in for me last week. He was reading some of the stuff at the end, and there was no mistakes at all in that. He did a very nice job.
He did a pretty good job.
Yes.
Like I said, unfortunately, though, we don't have room on the active roster here for him right now, so he's back to the practice squad.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Maybe we'll see him again someday.
Oh, so now I can take another vacation and know that everything's going to be
unless he
fine.
gets scooped up by another podcast for their practice squad. I don't know how that's going to happen.
And also our Week 8 picks video from last week. And we have more videos coming this week. The CFL Week 21 recap that we just recorded last night. That'll be up in a day or so.
Yep.
And it's the end of the regular season, by the way, in the CFL.
We'll have playoffs. Maybe
yep, playoffs
we'll talk more about that.
Coming up this weekend. Just Lying Around, the Packers recap after they play this weekend.
Yeah, that's the big Sunday afternoon game.
Yep.
So that should be a lot of fun.
Yep. And our weekly NFL picks for Week 9 that we're going to record later on tonight with Aaron.
Yep. So that'll be up Wednesday.
Yeah. So let's begin our weekly tour around the world of football, and we start off this week with scores from Week 8 in the NFL.
That's right, everybody. Week 8 NFL. It was a lot of crazy stuff happened this past week. I don't know how much you got to see being on vacation. Starting with this Thursday night game, did you catch any of this game? Rams and Vikings?
I saw a little bit of that.
Okay, well, the game was in L.A. The Vikings, obviously, after their heartbreaking loss to Detroit. And the first question is the Detroit hangover or the Honolulu flu a real thing? And right now it is, as the Vikings are now the 5th victim to the Honolulu flu as they fell to the Rams 30-20. The big story from this game was obviously the non-called face mask that happened against Sam Darnold. So Sam Darnold was back to pass. He was in his own end zone, and the Rams player just grabbed his face mask, pretty much like wrapped that helmet around Sam Darnold's head. No flag was called. The ref was looked like staring right at the play as it happened, and it's a non-reviewable call. It happened in the end zone. I mean, it probably could have kept that drive alive for the Rams or for the Vikings as they tried to march down the field to try to tie it up with the Rams, but instead it ended up as a safety for the Rams, so they went up by 10 points instead of the Vikings having a chance to go down and try to tie it up down 8 points at that point. So it sucks. You hate to see your game kind of go off a penalty like that or a crazy circumstance that the refs. I mean, that's one of those calls where if this was the CFL, they would have corrected that call. If you had a sky judge or if you had a command center that did the job properly, that's the big problem I think with the NFL's officiating right now is that's the next step, and they seem reluctant to want to take that next step, whether it be for a holding. Holding happens on every play, but I think at the end of the game like this, it needs to be under 5 minutes of each half. Or at least of the game. Yeah, it should be no challenges. It should all be. It's up to the refs because that's where the games are made and won. Like that kind of call happens in the first quarter. It's like okay, it sucks.
Right, but you got a lot of game to
you can bounce back from that. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, the Rams now on a little bit of a winning streak here, and the Rams starting to get healthy. They got their 2 receivers back, so I think the Rams might be a team to keep an eye out for going forward, and the Vikings now dropping 2 straight. So we'll see how that affects the Vikings going forward. All right, then we move to Sunday. Jameis Winston got the start for the Cleveland Browns and led them to a victory over the Ravens. Didn't see this coming, 29-24. Good for him, and that kind of shows like it hasn't been quarterback play that's been plaguing the Browns because you plug in a different guy. Last year it was Joe Flacco at the end of the year. Now Jameis Winston gets a start finally, and they come back. They beat the Ravens. I know the Ravens had a shot there at the end. They just couldn't, seal it up. But taking down a good, tough Ravens team. I mean, that's a very impressive feat for Jameis Winston. But could it be too little, too late with the quarterback change?
Yeah, who knows? All
right, the Houston Texans defeated the Indianapolis Colts 23-20. The big story out of this game, obviously, was the Anthony Richardson, the quarterback for the Colts, tapped himself out of the game because he was very tired after a run. And look, I don't blame him. Like you run like that, you get a little winded. Like okay, yeah, you need a breather. But he's getting a lot of flack from the media and fans about like you're the starting quarterback. You can't be just tapping out of the game like that in a situation like this. And unfortunately, it's resulted in him being benched this upcoming week for Joe Flacco, which I do think actually gives them a better chance to win. I don't think Richardson's been playing all that great, but when Joe Flacco's been in, Joe Flacco's still got something in the tank. Yeah. So we'll see if that helps the Colts going forward. And then on the Texans side, they lost wide receiver Stephon Diggs. He will miss the rest of the season with an ACL tear, which you hate to see. They're already down their team's leading receiver. Was it Tank? No, I forget their leading receiver's name. I'm blanking on his Nico Collins. Nico Collins has been down with an injury, and now you're losing Stephon Diggs, your 2 top wide receivers on that team. It sucks, for a young quarterback like C.J. Stroud who needs those type of weapons. Right. We'll see how much that affects the Texans going forward. And then let's talk a little bit about our beloved Detroit Lions who defeated the Tennessee Titans 52-14, an absolute drubbing. Didn't start off like a drubbing. Kyle and I talked about that.
Yeah, no, it was 14-14.
And what'd you do? Watch this from the hotel room?
No, I was home for this one.
Oh, you were home for this one.
Yeah,
okay.
The Thursday night game, I was still down there. We flew home on Friday.
Oh, but you were in for the Vikings game last week. You were in the hotel room, right? Because you had just flown down to Florida on Sunday.
Yes,
so
yes, because I caught some of the game in our hotel room. I caught the first part. We were at the House of Blues at Disney Springs, and I didn't even think about them having any TVs. And all of a sudden, Abram's sitting across the table from me, and I've got my back to the bar, and he says, "Oh yeah, I see the Lions are down 10-0." I said, "What?" And I turn around, and they got the game on the TV, and I'm like, why am I sitting with my back over here? I could be watching that.
So once you started watching the game when they were down 10-0 is when they started coming back.
That's right. That's right. And then from there, we left there. We went to our hotel, and I just happened to turn on the TV, and my gosh, that was the game that they had on the TV down there on the local Fox station in Florida. On the radio, all I could get was the Dolphins game, of course. But I was just surprised and very happy, and so I was hooping it up at the end of that game against the Vikings.
Yep. But anyway, so this game, so you were home for the Titans game.
Yeah.
We texted a little bit about this, but the Lions, it was a tough game at first.
Yes.
But they finally put the Titans away. They finally said, all right, enough's enough. We're going to, pull up our bootstraps. We're done. We're not messing around anymore.
The minute they got up by 2 scores, I said, yeah,
Tennessee
we got this.
Tennessee didn't have it,
Right.
which, I mean, you hate to say that about another team. You hate to see a team just lose, but they still had a little bit of effort. They tried, but man, Detroit's defense just capitalized on turnovers.
Well, they kept talking about how the Titans' defense was the number 1 defense, and
statistically,
and they showed it early on.
Oh yeah, that pass rush was real.
Yep. Very first play of the game was a sack.
Yeah, something the offensive line had to adjust to.
But yeah, as the game went along,
and, I mean, the special teams for Detroit actually had a game. Khalif Raymond was
never seen that kind of special teams from Detroit in a long time.
He was 19 yards short of the NFL record for punt return yardage in a game or something. So absolutely crazy. You never know what you're going to get when you watch a Lions game. Kyle and I talked about it last week. Like, who's the next Lion that's going to step up? And it was Khalif Raymond. It was a Khalif Raymond day, and that was awesome. I mean, you had Montgomery throwing a touchdown pass. Jared Goff had less than 90 yards passing on the day. It was just a weird game where, like, the Lions had 5 possessions down in the red zone, and they capitalized on all of them.
I say the next great thing you're going to see is Jake Bates throw a touchdown pass from a fake field goal.
Oh, boy. I mean, we've seen that with Matt Prater years ago, but we'll see. I mean, they're playing Green Bay, a division rival, in their house.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see something. I don't know what kind of trick play. You can never tell what kind of trick play it's going to be. They didn't throw it to an offensive lineman this past week, so I'm going to bet it's probably that.
This is going to be a tough game. I mean, I thought Minnesota was going to be a tough game, and it was. I thought the Titans game was going to be a tough game,
and it started
off that way. Green Bay, no, I'm saying this is going to be a tough game for us to win.
You can't ever discount a division rival.
No,
it doesn't. Like, records, throw the records out the window.
Yep.
The Packers are going to be a tough out. I know Jordan Love is, and we'll talk about that game here in a second. Jordan Love in that game against the Jags got hurt.
They said it's nothing serious, so I don't know if he's playing this week.
I would expect him to play, but even then, whether it's him or Malik Willis playing, I think the Lions, playing should be okay. I mean, like I said, anything can happen. And then Josh Jacobs, the running back, got hurt. So yeah, let's just move on to that game then. The Green Bay Packers played the Jaguars. Green Bay came out with a 30-27 win. They won on the last-second field goal. Again, I think that's 2 weeks in a row they've done that, which makes me go, Detroit better not let it be 3 weeks in a row. But, I mean, the Jaguars had a shot there at the end. I was watching this game, and they just blew it. They threw an interception, or they gave the ball back to Green Bay, who just went down and, kicked the game-winning field goal. I think that's how it was, because they tied it up. And I was like, okay, Jacksonville, we're going to probably try to take it to overtime. And they just couldn't stop Green Bay on that last drive. So Green Bay got the win there. The Arizona Cardinals got a last-second field goal against the Miami Dolphins. That's 2 games in a row for them. They beat the Dolphins 28-27 in Tua Tagovailoa's return. He refuses to wear that Guardian cap. So, I mean, I don't know if you saw the memes of him wearing a Guardians baseball hat instead. Since he refused.
No, I did not see that.
That's pretty good. Then, Dad's favorite team to hate on right now, the New York Jets fell to the New England Patriots 25-22.
Yes.
It was a game they were 7-point favorites in, I believe.
Oh, really?
And they ended up losing by a field goal to the Patriots. The Patriots are one of the worst teams in the league. The Jets are one of the worst teams in the league. Aaron Rodgers, again, with a post-game soundbite that is just this douchebag. I swear. I don't even want to use that word, but Aaron, I'm sick of him. I've been sick of him
for years.
Yeah, we've been sick of him for years. And this is what you get, New York. We almost saw this was happening. We figured maybe they'd be okay, but this is the negative side. This is the cancerous.
When things don't go well.
Oh, yeah.
Then.
Does he? So my question, does he retire mid-season?
No. No.
If they keep losing?
Yeah, they'll stick with him. And they will let him play, and he'll play the whole season.
They'll beg him to play, but I think he'll be. I'm done. I don't want to do this no more. I'm Aaron Rodgers.
I don't think so.
I'm going to go to a darkness retreat.
I don't think so. He's there for the season, but yeah, he may not be back next year.
I think he's definitely not back next year. The Atlanta Falcons got a win on the road in Tampa, their second win over the Buccaneers this year, 31-26. Tampa Bay obviously wearing those creamsicle uniforms that we love
those
so much. It looks so good.
I love those.
They need to find a way to make that either their permanent uniform or find like a hybrid with their current logo and make that color scheme come back.
No, I just like the original. I don't see them going back to that one totally, but they need to bring it out a couple times a year.
I have seen fan renderings of like the current logo with the sword and the flag, but in the creamsicle colors
Okay.
on a white helmet, I think it would look sharp. I think they could meld. Like I said, you just got to meld the old and the new.
Put the
That's
old
all you
logo
gotta
on
do.
one side, the new logo in the creamsicle colors on the other side.
There, ooh, that might be Randy might be onto something there. I don't think that's something you wouldn't see normally in an NFL team, other than the Steelers having a no logo and one logo. Having two different logos on your helmet, Randy, that's so UFL of you, or so XFL of you to pitch this idea. The Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Cincinnati Bengals 37-17. The Los Angeles Chargers defeated the New Orleans Saints 26-8. From this game, I don't know, did you see the play where one of the Saints linemen was trying to sack Justin Herbert, had his leg all wrapped up, and after he threw the ball and was gone, he was still trying to roll.
Oh no!
It was a dirty play, and then you saw one of his linemen, the Chargers lineman, come in and just hit the guy on the ground like, "Nuh-uh, you are not." I don't know if the guy got a flag for hitting the Saints player, if the Saints player got flagged for the trying to roll Herbert's ankle. It was a scary looking. Why would you do that? It was just a stupid, boneheaded thing, and I'm glad the Saints lost. And I'm not even a Chargers fan. I'm glad that the Saints lost that one. Let's see. The Buffalo Bills went into Seattle and took out the Seahawks 31-10. Josh Allen throwing his first interception of the year.
Yeah, he was the last quarterback that had not thrown an interception yet.
Yeah, I believe so. So he got that out of the way.
I thought that game would be a little bit closer.
I did too.
But
I mean, the Bills starting to put things together after they got rocked by the Ravens a few weeks back.
Yeah.
And then in what I thought would be the game of the week, here we go. Let's talk about it. The Washington Commanders got the victory over the Chicago Bears, 18-15. This might be one of those moments where it's like, do you know where you were when the Hail Mary happened?
I was watching it live.
Yeah, so
I was
was
watching it live, and I could not believe it. What it reminded me of when Jaden Daniels, is that his name?
Jaden Daniels, yeah, the Heisman Trophy winner.
When he went back, and he had to run around. First he kind of headed off to his right, and that reminded me a lot of Doug Flutie, the Boston College Miracle, where he went back and he said he had to run around because he had to give his receivers time to get down to the end zone.
Right.
So he was just stalling for time, and he ran to his right and threw it. And of course, Daniels went to the right, but then he came back to the left again. 12 seconds that play took before he actually threw the ball from the time it was snapped, and he threw it way high, so it came straight down, and the rest is history.
Right.
That was incredible. I could not believe that.
I had it on my phone. I was like, oh, great. The Bears took the lead, and I was like, oh, great. I'm going to have to go into work and give the Bears fans their flowers. And I got my phone propped up on my computer. I was doing some editing because Kyle and I had just finished recording our podcast. I was getting that work ready to go. And I'm watching. I'm like, okay, because Tony Romo called it on that last drive because he's like, well, you got enough space here. You do a 15-yard out route. You get out of bounds, and then you'll have the yardage you need to – because there was no way Jaden Daniels was going to throw a 70-yard heaver.
Right.
So it made sense. But the fact that the Bears coaching in this game was atrocious. So nobody guarded him, so they just let him get that 15 yards that he needed, got out of bounds. Okay. And then on the Hail Mary itself, they rushed 3 guys with a spy. Remember when the Lions were playing the Vikings? What did the Lions do? The Lions rushed 5 or 6 to get to the quarterback. What they do, they sacked him and prevented the ball from even having that happen to him. So that's gaffe number 1. Gaffe number 2, the Bears player who was talking with the people in the crowd.
Yep. When the play started.
As the play was going.
Yeah, he had his back to the play, and he's talking to the fans like, yeah, we're going to win. You guys are a bunch of losers. And then he turns around, oh, my God, the play started.
I think some Bears fans were like, hey, the play's going. And he ran back over. And he was the guy that tipped the ball.
Right.
Got his hand in there, tipped the ball to the receiver.
Tipped it straight up in the air and right to the...
Karma comes at you fast. But before that, though, the Bears, earlier in the game, they had a chance to, and they could have sealed this game and probably won easily, but their coaching was terrible. They ran a play, I don't know if you saw this, they ran a play where they had a backup center trying to run the ball in for a touchdown.
I did see that.
Who do they think they are? One, this ain't William the Refrigerator Perry.
Right.
And 2, you're not the Detroit Lions. It feels like, oh, well, the Lions are doing trick plays all the time. Let's show everybody we got trick plays too, and hand it to an offensive lineman. And how that worked for you, Eberflus, you stinking goof. I have been on the Eberflus needs to go train with the Bears for a while. So this just goes to show that, Bears fans, you get what you deserve. What a terrible coach. And you know what? I'm happy for the Commanders fans. We talked about how we have a buddy who's been
Yep.
Browns experimenting with being a Browns fan for 5
Yep.
years because the Commanders have just been bad.
Yep.
And now he's back on the Commanders full time.
Yep.
So
after that play, he called me up this morning. Mike, you son of a gun, you.
So, hey, kudos Commanders. I mean, what a heck of a season they're having. I mean, they're the Cinderella story of the year, and we'll see if it keeps going. But, I mean, for the Bears, I mean, it sucks to get a game ripped from it. We've been on the other end of those.
Oh, yeah.
Thought we locked it up, and then Aaron Rodgers heaves a Hail Mary to kill you. So.
On a phantom face mask call when the guy barely touches his face mask.
And for Bears fans, they'll say, oh, there was holding on the play that should have been called.
Yeah.
And, I mean, look, it is what it is. It sucks for the Bears, but at the same time, learn from it. If you're worth your salt, you're going to learn from it and move on. But, yeah, just I had to laugh a little bit. I remember I took my phone, and I was, like, so excited that the Commanders caught the ball. I ran upstairs, and I was like, honey, I know you don't care about anything but the Lions, and even then that's suspect, but you got to watch this play. And she's like, okay.
I showed that play to your ma too. I happened to be walking through the room when that play was coming on again, and I said, "Yo, stop what you're doing. Stop your crocheting.
Stop what you're doing.
You gotta watch this play." And she did. And she's like, "Oh, that was interesting."
Right. So that'll probably be the play of the year.
Yeah.
They'll talk about that for a long time. And that player for the Bears, I forget what his name is, Stevenson or something, but
it's mud now.
He's going to be used as an example in every team meeting.
Yep.
For whenever you talk about Hail Mary coverage from here to the end of time.
Yep.
All right, we still got a few games left here. The Denver Broncos took out the Carolina Panthers 28-14. The Kansas City Chiefs remain undefeated, defeating the Raiders 27-20. The San Francisco 49ers defeated the Dallas Cowboys 30-24 on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I fell asleep watching that game.
The score is not indicative of how this game went. I mean, it started off, Dallas looked like a decent team in the first half, but then the third quarter happened, and San Fran just took a big lead. Dallas kind of crawled back towards the end, but so you had the 5-0 Honolulu flu. I want to add this as the 6th Honolulu flu. I know everybody's ignoring it because Dallas had a bye after they played Detroit, but to me, it's your next game, and you lost.
No, that's absolutely true.
So it should be 6-0 now.
6-0, even with a bye week, they still couldn't put it together in 2 weeks to get past the Honolulu flu.
And against a team in the 49ers, which was way more decimated with injuries than the Dallas Cowboys. So the 49ers, when they get healthy, could be a scary team. But, I mean, working with what they had and still getting the win, shoot.
But you remember the San Francisco-Dallas game from... Was it last year?
Last year, and they just absolutely
with that
embarrassed
final play of the game, when they tried to run it with somebody. And
that was the playoff game 2 years ago that knocked the Cowboys out of the playoffs. You had Zeke just
and they tried to do something cute, and he got no yards, or they sacked him in the backfield.
Obliterated him. Yep.
Yeah, and game over.
Game over. Yeah. And then on Monday night, Russell Wilson and the Steelers defeated the New York Giants 26-18. Russell Wilson now. 2 weeks in a row, Russell Wilson's looking like a pretty darn good quarterback. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think, are going to be your dark horse team in the AFC to keep an eye out for.
Could be.
So that's your Week 8 scores. See, we only have a couple little news items left to get to before we throw it over to the CFL talk, guys. So just bear with us here. The one story we didn't talk... Oh, the Panthers today traded wide receiver Deontay Johnson to the Ravens. I still haven't seen any details on what else was received in that trade, but a nice receiver going to the Ravens who already got a stacked roster. Yep. I know the Chiefs also traded for that defensive end from New England yesterday, Uche. And so adding a guy to their roster while we're sitting here like, Brad Holmes, are we going to do anything before the trade deadline? Like, come on, bud.
We'll see. I don't know if they will or not.
It's hard to say, but we'll find out. Then we already talked about Anthony Richardson getting benched.
Yep.
And one of the other big stories today was that they announced that on Monday, December 9th, the Bengals-Cowboys Monday Night Football game for Week 14 will have an alternative broadcast featuring characters from The Simpsons and what they're calling Fun Day Football. Remember, they did this last year with the Toy Story.
Yep, that
game.
was awesome.
It was one of the London games.
That was a great event. So I really enjoyed that.
It was an alternative broadcast, so you can find this game coming up. It'll be on ESPN Plus and Disney Plus. And I know there was a few bugs last year when they did this, but it was still kind of cool to check out that game in that style. And with the Simpsons characters, now I got to check it out because it's going to be a lot of characters. And I'm sure they had a great promo already for it with the Simpsons. So I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And on a Monday night, so it's a little more adult. So we'll see what they try to get away with.
So must be they're not having a Manning cast that night.
Maybe not.
So this is going to
give the Mannings a break. Let the Simpsons take over.
Yeah.
From one football family to the cartoon family.
Yeah, Peyton and Manning Peyton and Eli are being replaced by Homer and Bart.
Or will they be the announcers on that? Because they CGI or they motion capture people. I mean, you get Peyton and Eli to do that one. I mean, Manning cast.
Way to go, Eli.
You get the people, Frank Azaria, whoever does the voices on The Simpsons. You get all those guys in to do voices too. That could be a lot of fun. I'm actually looking for. I didn't want to watch another Cowboys game, but darn it, NFL, you found a way to get me to watch another Cowboys game. All right, are we good on the NFL?
I think so. I think we've talked that to death.
All right, so now we're gonna head up to the Great White North, everybody. Across the border there where the games in the Canadian Football League are played, where the Rouges run free and the poutine is everywhere. Unless it's too spicy, then Randy won't touch it. It was week 21 in the CFL, the end of the regular season, and every time we get to this point in the CFL season, I have to say, I can't believe it's over.
Yeah.
We started in May.
Yeah.
And here we are in November, or almost November.
Yeah. But it does seem like this has been a longer season than most.
Only because we've covered it a little.
Because we've covered every single game.
Yeah.
And, I think I've watched more CFL this year than ever.
Yeah.
If I wasn't watching the game on TV or on my laptop, I was watching all the highlights because in the past, once the NFL season starts, they don't show as many CFL games on CBS Sports Net, and if it's not right there in front of me, I don't always go take a look at it. But because we were doing this show this year, the CFL Weekly. I've been invested in watching every game.
Yeah.
And so it has been a long season.
It's been a long season, but it's been a great season, and it
has.
wrapped up with 4 games this past weekend, starting with Friday night, which saw the Ottawa Redblacks defeat the Hamilton Tiger Cats 37-31.
Yeah, this game really didn't mean anything to either of these two
Most
teams.
of these games didn't. But, I mean, for Hamilton, they got some cool franchise records.
Their quarterback, Bo Levi Mitchell, set a team record for the Tiger Cats with over 5,000 yards passing. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but
we talk about that.
51.
Yeah, we talk about everything in a more expanded fashion over on Canadian Football League Weekly, guys. So if you haven't checked that show yet, go to our YouTube channel. Go check it out. Like it's going to be up this week. So right before games on the weekend.
Yeah, the theme of all these games was most of them didn't mean anything, but a lot of players were getting individual records in the last week of the season.
Because they had also the Tiger Cats added. Because last week Tim White got 1,000 yards on the season.
Right.
This week there was I forget the player who got the 1,000 yards this week.
Yeah,
but,
it'll be on our CFL show.
But so a lot of individual awards. And then on Friday night, the Edmonton Elks defeated the Toronto Argonauts 31-30 in overtime, thanks to a walk-off punt rouge.
Yeah.
What a wild one there.
Yeah, I had to go back during looking at the stats. They actually ran 2 plays, so this was a third down play. I thought maybe they just lined up and kicked it, without even running.
A smart thing.
Yeah, they ran for 1 yard and they had an incomplete pass. So it was a 54-yard punt that sailed just out of the end zone, which resulted in a single or a rouge and game over because that was the second possession in overtime.
I am surprised this has not happened more often. It's kind of like that situation with the onside punt where you just got to dribble it a few feet and then you can recover it
10 yards.
Yeah, no. When they dribble, it's that little onside punt they do. Remember where they get up to the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, where they drop the ball and pick it up again.
It's like that. Where that's in the rule book. You can do that.
Yeah, it is.
So there's some crazy rules the CFL's got, and we wouldn't change.
It makes it fun.
We wouldn't change one of them.
No.
So so it stinks for the Argos, but I don't think they were playing with a lot of their starters. I mean, Chad Kelly didn't play.
No,
this game.
He did not.
So they already knew. They already had the home playoff game locked up.
Yep.
So why? Bother?
Yeah, there was nothing that they could gain from that.
Yeah.
So. But it was a good close game,
and for the Elks it was pride, and it was getting Trey Ford some more experience, and I look forward to hopefully them building around it because they got a team there. They like we talked about on the show, if they would have just got those 3 wins that they lost by a field goal, we'd be talking about the Elks being in the playoffs right now. So, and then on Saturday, doubleheader there, the Blue Bombers defeated the Alouettes 28-27, giving the Blue Bombers the West Division crown.
Yep. So
they the road through the West runs through Winnipeg again.
Yeah, that was the only game of the 4 that had something to play for in Winnipeg, and they almost didn't do it either. I think they kicked a field goal. Did they kick a field goal at the end? Yeah, I think Yeah, I think they were down by 2 points, and they kicked a walk-off field goal to win that at the end also. So, in fact, one of the announcers, when the ball went through the goalpost, he said something like, "And it's now confirmed God is a Blue Bombers fan." Because leading up to that, the Montreal had to punt, and a big wind came up just as the guy was ready to punt the ball. You could see leaves flying, and that punt went up, and it just came right straight down. And so it was a really short punt that went out of bounds, and it was incredible to watch.
Wild.
That's how they got the good field position.
Yeah. And then the final game, the Calgary Stampeders defeated the Saskatchewan Roughriders 27-12, and then that left British Columbia on a bye this week. But don't worry, we'll see British Columbia again because we're going to first talk about the CFL standings, the final standings of the year. So in the East Division, the Alouettes went 12-5-1 to claim the East crown. The second place team will be Toronto, the 10-8, or at 10-8. Then the Ottawa Red Blacks at 9-8-1, and then the Hamilton Tiger Cats at 7-11. Obviously, Hamilton eliminated from the playoffs. In the West, the Blue Bombers of Winnipeg at 11-7, winning that West Division title. Saskatchewan, the number 2 seed there, at 9-8-1, followed by the BC Lions at 9-9 in the 3 spot. The Edmonton Elks at 7-11, eliminated, and the Calgary Stampeders 5-12-1. They got that win. It was their first win since August
4th. Yeah, they had a 9-game losing streak going into that last game, and they pulled it out. Just for pride. They had nothing else to play for, but. They got that win, so it was good to see that happen.
So that sets up your divisional semifinal round here in the CFL this week in a doubleheader on Saturday. The first game will be the British Columbia Lions traveling to Saskatchewan to play the Rough Riders. This should be a good one. I don't know who to expect to win. We don't really do CFL predictions, but who do you got in this one?
Well, I don't know. Saskatchewan at home, I might have to give it to them. Because we don't know who's going to be the quarterbabe for BC.
BC's got, because they had Vernon Adams in their last game last week.
Is it going to be Adams or is it going to be Rourke?
Or do you do a combination of the two?
Maybe.
I don't know. Vernon Adams, I don't know if he gives you your best chance to win right now. It's hard to say.
He might be the hot hand right now.
I think you got to go Vernon Adams, so we'll find out. I'm going to be pulling for BC. I mean, it'd be cool to have the home team.
Yeah, they want to be in the Grey Cup that's in their stadium.
Yeah. So I'm kind of pulling for BC, but I like Saskatchewan too. What can I say? I like Saskatchewan, so it's a toss-up between those two there. I guess I don't care who really wins, but for BC, I hope you guys get there because I have a BC shirt, and I want to see you guys play in your home venue.
Did you see any highlights from this game? The Saskatchewan team was wearing those dark...
Yeah, what do they call that? Really the obsidian or something?
Yeah, dark green and with a different S logo on the helmet. I don't know. You've said in the past you like those.
I do. It's a very sharp look. And then the other game Saturday, the Ottawa Red Blacks traveling to Toronto to play the Argonauts. This should be a hard-fought game. For most of the year, I thought Ottawa was the second-best team in the CFL, and they really slipped up towards the end of the season. They finally snapped their losing streak. But Toronto, though, has been up and down, and I don't know. I think Toronto takes this one.
I think so, being at home.
But it'll be an ugly game. I think these two teams have played ugly games all year. I will take Toronto to win this one.
Yep.
And then the lone news story we got, guys, out of the CFL is that CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosie has announced he will be stepping down in 2025. He's been the commissioner for 7 years. So as soon as the Grey Cup's over, his tenure as CFL Commissioner will come to an end, barring, they got to find a replacement.
Yeah, as soon as he'll stay on until the Board of Governors for the CFL hires a new commissioner. So it might be a couple months. It might be right up to the start of the next season before they find a new commissioner. Who knows? But, I personally think he's done a pretty good job. He never could get that 10th team going. He came in and it was going to be the Atlantic Schooners out there in Halifax, and that never materialized. The city council wouldn't authorize money to build a stadium, and one thing after another, and so they're still looking for that 10th team. So hopefully the next commissioner can get that going.
Yep. All right. Well, with that being said, we're going to stay in the Great White North for some Canadian college scores, thanks to Randy and his crack research.
Yes. We're going to talk some USPORTS, and this was the end of the USPORTS regular season up there. They're going to be into their playoffs starting next week. And in the final weekend, it was the Bishops Gators over the Mount Allison Mounties 51-14. The Manitoba Bisons over the University of British Columbia Thunderbirds 51-38, and it was the Laval Red and Gold shutting out the Sherbrooke Green and Gold 28-0. So we'll have some playoff action next week. But in the Canadian Junior Football League, it was their semifinals, and it had two games. The St. Clair Saints defeated the London Beef Eaters 75-39, and the Okanagan Sun defeated the Regina Thunder 28-14. And this sets up on November 9th the CJFL Championship game between the Okanagan Sun at the St. Clair Saints. And this game is going to be played at the Saints' home stadium, which is Acumen Stadium in Windsor, Ontario. I did not know that the St. Clair Saints were from Windsor. You know how I've always said that the Windsor Lancers Stadium is right when you cross the bridge and you go past that McDonald's right there.
Right.
That's their stadium. Well, if you go about 5-10 miles down the road, there's the other stadium right next to the highway. We must have driven past it many a time. I just never noticed it. But that's where they're playing. And I think the team used to be called the Windsor Fratmen. Now it's the St. Clair Saints. So I don't know. I think that's the way it works. But anyway, that's the game's going to be in Windsor, and I'm thinking to myself, God, should we cross the bridge and go do that game? I don't know. I don't know if we will or not. But it is in Windsor, just across the border. So yeah, that's in 2 weeks. So we'll have that score when.
You better make up your mind.
Yeah, I got 2 weeks to make up my mind. Well, we'll see if the snow's flying by then. All right.
Well, no, the snow will be driving by then.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Yeah, that one was right there.
Okay. All right, now we're going to head back to the United States to cover more college football scores in the NCAA. We're going to start, this was week 9 in the NCAA FBS division. We're going to talk about the top 10 teams, and it was number 1 Oregon over number 20 Illinois, 38-9 this week.
I thought this would be a lot closer, but man, Oregon just ran all over Illinois.
Yeah.
Probably because Illinois wasn't wearing those great uniforms they had.
Those were so sweet. Oh, I want a mini helmet. I mean, I've got a couple of little leather mini helmets out here, but I'd love to have one of those from that. They can make a lot of money selling those. Let's see. Number 2 Georgia was on a bye this week. Number 3 Penn State over Wisconsin, 28-13. Number 4 Ohio State over Nebraska, 21-17.
They escaped that game. Oh, I thought Nebraska was going to be able to tie it up, but they threw a bad pick at the end and kept Ohio State alive. And man, I really was hoping Nebraska could pull that one out.
Let's see. Number 5 Texas over number 25 Vanderbilt, 27-24. Number 6 Miami of Florida over Florida State, 36-14. Number 7 Tennessee was on a bye. Number 14 Texas A&M upset number 8 LSU, 38-23. Number 9 Clemson was on a bye. Number 10 Iowa State was on a bye. That's 3 out of the top 10 that were all on byes this week. Moving on to some other scores, including upsets, shutouts, blowouts, and some other scores. Arkansas over Mississippi State, 58-25. East Carolina over Temple, 56-34. Our Western Michigan Broncos over Kent State, 52-21. We've been talking about Kent State getting just beat up by everybody so far this year. I don't think they've won a game yet, but it's too bad for them.
Hey, one game you left off this list is number 13 Indiana defeating Washington 31-17.
Oh yeah.
I mean, come on. Indiana's been kind of our
Yeah, they are now.
They're kind of a team we've been pulling for.
Yep.
Cousin Nathan is on the team's sideline every week.
Mm-hmm.
Talked to him over the weekend, and sounds like he's gonna hook us up with some swag. Because I was mentioning how I was gonna go out and get an Indiana shirt, and he's like, "Well, I might have a hookup." So we might be on the lookout for some Indiana merch here soon. But the Hoosiers are doing awesome right now.
Yeah, 7-0.
They 8-0. I think they're 8-0 now.
Is it 8-0?
Because I think I saved that graphic, but yeah, they're 8-0. 8-0 for the first time since 1967.
Wow.
So they're having a heck of a season. Bowl eligible. I was talking to him. I was like, so we're going to see you over the holidays? He's like, well, if we're bowl eligible, I'll probably be at a bowl game. So you guys probably won't see me around the holidays. So
they are bowl eligible.
They are bowl eligible. They're doing a lot of great stuff. And with Western Michigan, I wanted to ask you real quick. So if they're the last unbeaten team in MAC conference play, if they're in the MAC championship game, are we going
to Detroit? We just might have to go to that.
We just might
at
have
Ford
to go.
Field.
There we go. You heard it here first.
Yeah, that way I can say I went to Ford Field this year and didn't have to to spend hundreds of dollars on a ticket.
Well, you've already been there twice. You saw
that's
the Lions,
true.
and
That's
then
true.
you
I
saw
was
the
there in
UFL
January.
game.
Yep.
And so this would be the third game, but 3 different events at Ford Field.
Yep. NFL, UFL, and college.
There you go.
Let's see, where was I? Michigan over Michigan State, 24-17. Did you watch some of this game?
I watched the beginning of it. I thought State had it, and then Michigan came back.
Yeah.
And then it ended with that terrible scrum, all the players fighting.
Oh,
each
yeah,
other,
that was awful
pushing,
to
shoving,
see.
all that. Ugly,
Yep.
Whatever. I mean, it's a heated rivalry, and I don't know, but both teams neither ranked, so
yeah, it's always something with Michigan and Michigan State.
Yeah. But I think that this is 3 straight years Michigan's won it, the Paul Bunyan Trophy.
I
So
think so. Yeah. Let's see, and then Colorado defeated Cincinnati 34-23. Colorado is now bowl eligible, so Coach Prime will be in a bowl game somewhere. So
they're gonna make a big deal out of that game wherever he lands.
Yep, absolutely. Hope it's not the Idaho Potato Bowl.
Quick Lanes Bowl.
They'll get a. Well, he might come to Detroit. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see where he winds up in a bowl game. And a game that was played last Wednesday night, Kennesaw State, who was 0-6 at the time, defeated Liberty, who was undefeated at 5-0 by the score of 27-24. This was the first loss for Liberty, obviously, knocked them off the undefeated list. Kennesaw State started its football program as recently as 2015 at the FCS level. This is their first season at the FBS level, and this was their first win at the FBS level. But while they were in the FCS, they made the playoffs 4 different times down there. So they are a good team. Just they've been struggling here at the FBS level. But boy, what a big win for that program to beat the undefeated Liberty team.
Yep, and to knock them from the ranks of the unbeaten.
Yes,
Shoot.
yes. So congratulations to Kennesaw State. Couldn't even tell you what their nickname is, but
I mean, I could probably look it up.
Oh,
we have access to the internet, Randy.
You don't
I
need
don't
to.
know if you knew that.
ready to go on here. Let's talk about the military academies. It was number 12 Notre Dame over number 24 Navy, 51-14. That was also the first loss for Navy this year. They were undefeated.
Kennesaw State, they're the Owls, by the way.
Owls. Okay.
But I watched the beginning of this Notre Dame Navy game. I was pulling for Navy so hard.
Oh, I was too.
But
yes.
did you watch any of this?
I saw some of it.
Boy, this started off. Navy couldn't get out of their own way. 3 turnovers, I think, in the first 20 minutes of the game. So well into the second quarter, they had like 3 fumbles. They gave the ball to Notre Dame. Notre Dame just had their way with them. I think there was only one that they didn't capitalize on. But it was a tough watch, and I was like, man, I was really pulling for you, Navy, and I just had to turn it off. It was a rough watch.
I was watching other games or something else, and I kept going back to it, and it got to the point where Notre Dame was starting to pull away, and I just said, yeah, this game's over with. Our Navy's not going to do anything this week, so I stopped watching it. But
it sucks, but I mean, shoot, Navy's still bowl eligible. Good season so far.
Sure.
It's just a tough loss.
Yep,
They got to take on the chin.
Yep, and in the other military academies, it's number 23 Army at 7-0. They're on a bye this week. Last week they were on a bye, and Air Force was also on a bye, but those 2 teams are going to play at West Point this weekend.
Oh, that should be fun.
Yeah, that'll be a good game to watch. I hope that's on TV around here. So we're down to 8 undefeated FBS teams now. You've got Army, Pittsburgh, Iowa State, BYU, Miami, Indiana, Oregon, and Penn State as your 8 undefeated teams.
And we got a heck of a game this weekend. Penn State's taking on Ohio State, number 2 and number 3.
Yeah, 3 and 4.
3 and 4. I mean, heck yeah, that should be a fun game to watch.
That'll be the game of the weekend.
Oregon's taking on Michigan. Not that I feel like Michigan's going to win that one, but it's interesting to have Oregon coming to the big house. That should be a pretty cool sight.
Yeah.
So.
Oh man, yeah, that'd be fun to actually be at.
Yeah.
I don't know if Oregon's ever been to Michigan before.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, but that whoever's got tickets to that, they have a good time. That's going to be a heck of a game. And the last thing I've got for the FBS level is the Camilla Bowl. We've heard about this game for years. It's 10 years maybe. The Camilla Bowl's been around. It was something else before that, but it's a name that we see every year for the bowl season, the Camilla Bowl. They have a new name and a new sponsor. The game is now officially known as the IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl. What an ugly name. Salute to Veterans Bowl is fine enough, but the sponsor is a company called Integrated Solutions for Systems, and that's where you get the IS4S from. But to me, it's just the Salute to Veterans Bowl, and that's kind of nice that they got another. You've got the Military Bowl, you got this Salute to Veterans Bowl, and there's a third one. I forget what the other one is.
Oh,
but
not sure.
But yeah, there's always been a couple of military themed college bowl games, and so that's normally where Army, Navy, and Air Force end up if they're bowl eligible. So we'll see who's going to be playing in this one. This game is going to be played on December 14th at the Crampton Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama, and it's going to be played immediately after the 2024 Heisman Trophy is presented on TV. So as soon as that's over with, they're going to go right to this bowl game. So that should be interesting. All right, so let's go to the FCS level now. I'll get some random scores from here. It was Lehigh over Fordham, 33-19. South Carolina State over Delaware State, 69-35. And in the Ivy League, it was Yale over Penn, 31-10. In Division II, it was Tiffin over Lake Erie, 63-10. Ashland over Northwood, 9-7. And North Greenville over Delta State, 47-45 in four overtimes.
Goodness gracious.
Moving on to Division III, it was Albion defeating our beloved Kalamazoo College here in town, 28-23. It was the Coast Guard Academy over Norwich. I don't know which Norwich that is. There's a couple of them around. But defeating Norwich 17-13. And Illinois College shut out Lawrence 84-0.
Jeez.
Moving on to the NAIA, the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. St. Francis of Indiana over Marion, 31-28. It was Baker over Central Methodist, 62-7. And last week you mentioned this school, Quaz.
Yeah,
I thought the same thing. When I've seen it before, and I always thought it was Quaz, Quaz, but it's actually Ouaz. It's Ottawa University of Arizona, and
Gotcha.
I mentioned them last week, but I didn't use the Quaz. I used Ottawa University. But it's the same thing. And when I heard you on last week's podcast say that, I'm like, he made the mistake that I was going to make. I was gonna call him Quaz, but I didn't know what the acronym stood for, so I actually went and looked it up. But yes, Ottawa University of Arizona, and so I included their score this week because OUAZ defeated Louisiana Christian 70-14.
Dang, okay.
So that's the only thing I really saw that you had a mistake on last week. Very minor.
Right
so
on.
You
I'm glad that's the only mistake.
Yeah, you and Kyle did a great job. I hate to say that, but it was fun to listen to because I didn't know where things were going at times, and when we record, we know where we're going with a lot of these things. So most of the time, but not all the time. So anyway, finally, in the National Junior College Athletic Association, it was Georgia Military over our beloved Snow College of Ephraim, Utah, 31-24. College of DuPage over Sussex County Community College, 58-21, and Lackawanna over Hocking, 67-12. All right, now it's time to check in with our man in Japan.
And now we're off across the Pacific, where our man in Japan, Greg St. James, has all the news from the land of the rising sun.
From the Gridiron Japan newsroom, this is Greg St. James with Week 5 in X League Super play. Super being the top division in the X League. So this week it was IBM Big Blue and Fujifilm Minerva with the 17-17 tie. The Obix Seagulls 45-7 over Oriental Bio Silver Star. The Panasonic Impulse were 27-13 winners over the Tokyo Gas Creators. The Nojima Rise won 42-21 over the Pleiades Suns. The defending champion Fujitsu Frontiers won easily 35-7 over the Seksui Challengers. And then lastly, in the biggest blowout of the weekend, we had the Elecom Fineys 49-0 over the All Mitsubishi Lions. So with all that said, we enter into the final week of X League play here at the beginning of November. With the X League, we only play 6 regular season games, and then we go into the playoffs. So you're looking at about a 9-game total schedule between regular season games and the playoffs. And the reason for that is all of these teams are club teams. They are not, with the exception of the players coming from North America who play on these teams, the players on the teams are not paid. They're much like you and I. They're very much hobbyist when it comes to their football. So that's the reason why we only have a 9-game schedule for the autumn season. And with all that said, hey, if you want to learn more about all things American football here in Japan, please give our website a follow, our website a look at gridironjapan.jp. From there, you can find our social media links, our podcast channels, and our video channel. All right, with all that said, hey, Randy and Adam, hey, congrats on your Lions again for this weekend's big win, and we will be talking to you again next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Greg. Always enjoy hearing your voice from Japan. It's kind of cool that we can do this.
Yeah, it's become one of my favorite segments on the show.
Yeah, he usually sends them to me on Tuesday morning, which there's a time change and a date change. It's like I don't know. I don't even understand it. But whenever it's day here, it's night over there. So by the time I'm getting up, he's going to bed.
Yeah.
So we don't always talk. But he'll send them to me. First thing on a Tuesday morning, and that's when I get it. And throw in the little intro, and we're good to go. All right, so now we're going to head back to the United States once again for more happenings in the world of football. Let's see, you didn't want to mention the Arena Football 1, the Indoor Football League. The 2025 schedule is going to be released in 2 days, October 31st. So
it's not that I didn't want to mention. It's that there's nothing really new to report other than what we did last week.
My question is, right now they've got 12 teams, and they said that they were going to have all of their teams announced by the end of October. So that's only 2 days.
So we'll talk about it next week.
Are they? Do you think they'll come up with another team or
Probably
two
not.
in the next 2 days? No, I don't either.
I
I think 12 is it, and I'm fine with 12. They had 8 last year. They've added 4 this year. Great.
No, they had 16 last year. Then they lost 8.
Well, they finished with 8, and they continue with the same 8 this year. But yeah, I think 4 is a good expansion. Maybe next year they'll add 4 more and be at 16 next year.
Yeah,
Who
we'll
knows?
see. And then with the IFL, obviously their schedule coming out later this week will be good for us to figure out when the home opener for the
Fisher's Freight.
will be, because that's the game that we were going to try to aim at.
Yes.
That is kind of our one we're going to try to move heaven and earth to try to be at.
Yep, I would love to go down there for a game. I think it's going to be really easy for us to get
for
there.
For us, and we're trying to work out something with our buddy Trey over at Off the Wall. We said, hey, maybe we'll have to meet up at a Fisher's Freight game. So, we haven't talked to him officially yet. If you're listening, Trey, just know that's what we're aiming for. We're going to try to go to that first game. So hopefully it all works out. We'd love to meet up.
When the schedule comes out, Trey, let us know what game you'd like to go see for the Fisher's Freight, and we'll see if that matches up with what we're going to do.
Maybe we'll have to do a couple of them if it's not that bad a drive for us.
Yeah, I think it's only like 3 hours for us, but I'm not sure.
It's like 6 hours for him, 3 for us.
Depends on the weather.
Yeah, that's true. Very, very true.
But yeah, it's a straight shot for us. Okay, in the Arena League, the expansion team in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, evidently has changed their team nickname from the Jammers. You remember when this came out? It was a guy wearing a plaid shirt with a guitar over his shoulder, because they have some big, I don't know if it's a bluegrass festival or some music festival there in Eau Claire every year. So the Jammers was based on that, and I guess now they're going to be called the Axemen.
Yeah.
And so now it's a bull in a plaid shirt
with a axe.
With an axe.
And a football in one arm, an axe in the other, over his shoulder.
I don't know why the change in names. Maybe somebody already owned that. I have no idea.
I don't know. Then there was another logo that went around that called them the Axe Jammers.
Yeah.
Or the Log Jammers.
Log Jammers.
The Log Jammers.
So, yes. Really weird.
I don't know what to make. I don't think there's been an official thing by the league about it.
No, there has not.
But the team's got a Facebook page that changed it all and all that. So I guess it's official.
We'll find out in the coming weeks.
But, they already had it on their schedule with a new logo, and I was kind of like, "What team is that?" Because I don't see the Jammer. So you just put 2 and 2 together, and that's indoor football for you.
Yeah, well, you told me about it this morning, and so I went to try and confirm that, and I couldn't find it on the league's official website. I couldn't find it on their Facebook page. You found it through something else,
A forum I
some
follow.
forum that you follow, which I don't do a lot of forums myself, but
stay out.
So if nothing else, if we're wrong about this, we'll correct that in the coming weeks. But right now, it looks like they are going to be the Eau Claire Axemen, not the Jammers. I thought that the other logo was kind of cool, though.
Yeah, they had some unique logos. I mean, Axemen's.
All those teams have weird, unique logos. That's their thing, I guess. Okay, let's see. Birthdays for October 29th. Just got one today. Quarterback Andy Dalton, also known as the Red Rifle, turns 37 years old today. He played his college football at TCU. He was selected in the second round of the 2011 NFL Draft by the Cincinnati Bengals. He is currently playing in his 14th season. He was with the Bengals from 2011 to 2019. He was with Dallas in 2020. He was with the Bears in 2021. And he was with the Saints in 2022. And the last two seasons, 2023, 2024, he has been with the Carolina Panthers, and he's currently their starting quarterback down there.
Well, with Bryce, his family just got into a car accident, I think. Everybody's okay. This happened last week, I want to say.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
I think it was after their game last week, but I think not Trey Young. Who's the quarterback? Bryce Young. For the Panthers is back to starting, but I think Dalton's going to go. I don't know. They keep flip-flopping back and forth between their quarterbacks there in Carolina. I mean, I don't know. But Dalton's been around a long time. He's been a journeyman the last several years.
Yep.
So we'll see how much left he's got in the tank.
Yep, we shall see. All right, obituaries. Got two of them this week. This is where we take a moment to honor those who've made the world of football a better place. The first one is that of Alan Miller, a fullback in the American Football League for 5 seasons, has passed away at the age of 87. Miller played college football at Boston College and was selected in the 19th round of the 1959 NFL Draft by the Philadelphia Eagles. However, he signed with the AFL's Boston Patriots and played for the team in 1960. He went on to play for the AFL's Oakland Raiders from 1961 to 1965, but did not play in the 1964 season. I could not find why. I'm assuming it was an injury because he came back the next year, but it didn't come out and say why. But I know he did not play in 64.
All right, our next obituary is that of John Campbell, a linebacker in the NFL for 7 seasons, has passed away at the age of 86. Campbell played college football at Minnesota and won a college football national championship with the team in 1960. He was selected in the 11th round of the 1963 NFL Draft by the Minnesota Vikings. He was also selected in the 5th round of the 1963 American Football League Draft by the Kansas City Chiefs. He signed with the Vikings and was the first University of Minnesota player ever drafted and signed by the Vikings. He played for the Vikings in 1963 and 64. He went on to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers from 1965 to 1969. Campbell was cut by the Steelers during the 1969 season and then signed with the Baltimore Colts, where he finished his playing career. How about that? You play at the University of Minnesota and you get to play for the professional football team there too. And was that Minnesota's first year, 1960?
No, they were 61 was their first year.
Okay.
So
it was just the way that was phrased made it sound like he was also the first.
They might have drafted other players from there, but this was the first one that they actually drafted and signed him to the team. So I thought that was an interesting little tidbit. Okay, let's see. Upcoming events calendar. Sunday, November 10th, the Giants are taking on the Panthers in Munich, Germany. This is a 9:30 a.m. game on NFL Network. It's the last overseas game of the season. This should be interesting. I don't think did they do a Germany game last year?
They did.
I don't remember that. Anyway, last overseas game for the NFL this year. Sunday, November 17th, the 111th Grey Cup game in Vancouver, British Columbia, where we're going to be. Still know where your passport is?
Yeah, I know where it is exactly.
Okay. Yep. All right. Let's see. Tuesday, December 3rd, Hard Knocks in season with the AFC North on HBO and Max. You are looking forward to this more than I am.
Yeah.
But you want to check this out.
I do. I think that it should be interesting following this whole division, especially now with Russell Wilson getting hot, Jameis Winston taking over the Browns, the Ravens making a deep playoff push this year, and then you have the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow. And do they get better during the rest of the year, like their struggles? I just think that's very fascinating. If you're going to pick a division right now outside of the NFC North, which is the best division in football, the AFC North is a very interesting one to follow. Yeah. It's not a complete train wreck like some of these other divisions, but there's a lot of intrigue there, and I think that was a good choice. So
Okay. All right. Any other news before we call this a show?
I have nothing that's been sent through the wire, so I think we should be okay.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can like the World of Football on many social media platforms, including Facebook, X, and Instagram, where the address for all three of those is TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast to hear us on whatever Alexa devices you may have. You can also find the full audio version of this show on our YouTube page. Just enter the World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle @theworldoffootball in the YouTube search bar. So please spread the word, subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation.
I think Kyle read that better than you last week.
I don't doubt it.
And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than Adam and I sitting here in Kalamazoo talking about football. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job. Yeah, right. I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm going to try to figure out a way. How do we get a football fun day featuring the World of Football instead of The Simpsons, for us?
The Simpsons got about 30 years of experience over us. We've only got 7 years doing this. So
all right, so you're telling me there's a chance.
We'll see you all next week.